All right, guys, first strike modifier is out. And what does that mean? Sappers are back. So what happens with sappers in first strike is that they double their damage on the first hit on the tower because they can only hit towers. So you're essentially going to get a guaranteed massive amount of damage on towers. You've seen this deck before, or similar. I've changed it up ever so slightly just to suit the meta a bit more. And I've tinkered around with a lot of the slots, but the core slots that you really need are sappers, smoke bomb, which can go out of slot. I like to have cheat death in a spell slot because it just increases the length of time which cheat death is effective for. And I like to include these guys here because they're great defensive units and they're one cost, and it's cycling a one cost into your deck is very important for this particular deck. So we have Charlga with Cavernous Mists to reduce her to 1 gold. I'm running Polymorph. Now, to be honest with you, there are a few ways that you could run Polymorph here. I actually think Exploding Sheep is the better Polymorph talent for this deck, although you'll notice that in all my gameplay I didn't run it because I've only just thought about that right now. The reason we use Polymorph is to use it defensively. It works really well with Dragon Towers. So we use Polymorph defensively with Dragon Towers because as soon as a big threat gets close, you Polymorph it, they become vulnerable, they take way more damage and they die. So Polymorph is only used really in defensive situations. There are some situations where you might use Polymorph offensively to stop a unit killing your sappers or locking down your sappers. You may even look to Polymorph like Defias Bandits because they will stun your sappers for ages and then your sappers will just not move. We're running with Murloc Tidehunters because value for money wise, they are incredible and they deal with Griffin Rider, and without them you'd have absolutely nothing to deal with any kind of air threat. So we just run these guys as a cheap way to deal with air threats. They're also obviously pretty solid defensively all round. Smoke Bomb with the increased movement speed talent. There is potentially a world where you could run the level up Band of Thieves to cycle minis. I think there's like if you could get your sappers to level 11, for instance, they'd probably one-shot a base that is like level 9. I don't know, but there's maybe a world where that works. Haven't tested it. Cheat death with whatever the hell you want. Vampirism is not worth it. If you have the one that spawns skeletons at your base, that might be worth it. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what you run in cheat death. And of course, you absolutely need the rocket-powered turbo boots on your goblin sappers. Let's jump into some games. And believe me, there's not much to analyze, but there are some really core things that you need to know about this deck to make it work. If you really want to play this deck properly, there are certain maps where this deck is basically unplayable. There are certain ways that you get around counters to this deck. Let's talk about them. Let's walk through some games. Before we get into the games, though, some of you might be wondering, okay, I'm seeing a lot of sappers on ladder right now. How do I deal with them? There are a couple of ways you deal with sappers. The first, and in my opinion, the best way, is to run a Chain Lightning, and as soon as you see the sappers, just Chain Lightning them. It's in my opinion the best way to deal with sappers. You Chain Lightning them near their base. They won't have cheat death them. They might not have already smoke bombed them, but I just think you've got to basically run Chain Lightning and hold it for whenever you see sappers like instantaneously, because ultimately it's the best way to catch them cost effectively off guard. You can run Polymorph, you can run Defias Bandits and stun them as they intend to travel to your base. Polymorph, as they're going to your base, as they're jumping, it will stop them and then they'll get killed. And then also you can run Blizzard. Blizzard outlasts the duration of cheat death for the most part. So Blizzard is a really good way of dealing with sappers as well. So that's how I would go about countering them. Now let's have a look at some of the games. We'll start off... Yeah, okay, so here we go. We'll start off on this level here. Give me a second. I'm just going to see if I've got my epic pen going. I have. Right. So we're going to start off on Arathi Basin. And so essentially, this is basically what you're going to do. You don't actually need Smoke Bomb. He's running exactly the same thing, by the way. I'm going to cheat death in this instance. We're basically going to trade. There's nothing I can do about it. But I deal a boat ton of damage. And look how much damage I did with one hit. That is absolutely nutty. So then what we do, knowing that we're into this situation, is we just cycle as quickly as possible. He didn't offer anything that would stop him stop me from landing my hits with my sappers. So you just cycle again to the next one, and that game was over in about 20 seconds. Let's go to the next game. All right, we're on to Hillsbred Foothills. This is another great level. There's only one bad level, realistically, for this deck. That's gadgetzan, which we'll talk about later. Here, we don't have it in our opening hand. So what we want to do is we want to put, and I'm just going to pause it here. We want to put as many one costs into our deck as possible so that we can cycle more quickly into our sappers. The way that Charlga works is you essentially have two decks. You have a deck of your actual minis, and you have a deck of your costs. Every time you use a mini, it gets cycled back into your deck like normal. Every time you use a cost, it gets cycled back into your deck like normal. Both of your decks start with all minis and all costs. So you've got a 3, a 2, a 2, a 1, a 1, a 3, whatever, and you've got all of your minis. If you only cycle in, and by the way, even if the cost, so for instance, the cost here of cheat death is 2, but the actual cost of the unit is 3. So if you use cheat death, what it actually does is it cycles the 3 back into your deck. It does not cycle the cost that is shown. It cycles the cost of the mini. So what we want to do, if we have a good start like this, is we have our deck. If we have a load of 1 costs that we can see, so Charlga, Defias Bandits, Kobold, you cycle all those back in to the deck, and you ignore your 3 costs for the longest time, because that means as the deck cycles through, you can stack your 3 costs towards the back, and hopefully it means you can get a couple of rotations of sappers out for very cheap and essentially cheese your opponent, and that becomes really useful later down the line when we're looking at dealing with blizzards. So here in this situation, he's just randomly thrown down some whelp eggs. I'm going to then just straight up use my sappers. I am going to cheat death this because he dropped a rend. Now, in this situation, I'm obviously being threatened to the base. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop stuff that can defend the base. I don't need to go crazy right now. As you can see, I'm not even going to bother dropping my 2 costs. I'm going to try and cycle once again. They run straight over the mine, but that's okay. He polymorphs straight away. So I know he's got polymorph. Now, what in this situation, when I've seen an expensive deck run some kind of counter, what I want to do is essentially just cycle back again. So I've seen an expensive deck run a counter. I'm going to cycle back again. He's done polymorph once more. That's okay. I'm not that bothered. I'm going to keep cycling my cheap cost units to potentially get another opportunity to go towards my sappers. I have an opportunity here. I know that he's only got polymorph. He shouldn't have had the gold to get polymorph again. I'm going to cheat death just in case he brings something out. But essentially, when you see a spell like that, your main job is to cycle back towards your sapper combination. The way you do that is just play as many of your cheapest cost minions as possible. So when I see my sappers get killed by something like that, like polymorph or blizzard, that polymorph or blizzard is either 4 gold for blizzard, 3 gold for polymorph, and the rest of their deck is not going to be cheap, right? You can outcycle in general much quicker than they can. Usually. If they want to play their good minis anyway, that's for sure. So in that situation, I've seen this spend that much gold. I'm going to use like my Defias Bandits, 1 gold. I'm going to use my Charlga, 1 gold. I'm going to play my Kobold, 1 gold. And then I'm hopefully going to get back to sappers. And then that'll give me another cheap sapper combination, like you said there. It's just about keeping the pressure up in these situations. Right, next one. All right, I'm showing you this one because I played like crap. I also ran a kind of weird deck. So I decided to experiment with the deck and thought, well, if I'm doing so much damage with sappers, maybe I can just like run execute. So in this case, I used execute. Really, I didn't have a great opening hand. I've just already cycled a 3 cost back into my deck, which is not great. Now, obviously, he's got a Huntress walking towards me. I'm just going to run my sappers straight through. Don't really need to use cheat death here, but I'm going to. And I'm going to execute there. So really, like, I think that there is a viable deck here, but it is quite difficult to make work, I think. Now, I've seen just another opportunity to run sappers down. I obviously don't have to go that way. I'm going to stealth before the Maiev can actually stop my sappers from doing anything. And yeah, he's going to use safe pilot, but we'll just cheat death and going to get another set of sappers over. But there's probably a deck that can work here with execute, but the problem is you lose too many defensive options by running execute. Right, next game. Right, this is a version of the deck that I ended up running Harvest Golem in. And you're going to see it's basically quite bad. However, this is going to show you why this level in particular is quite difficult. Obviously, Old Murkai's kind of come back into the meta now because we're out of bounty hunts, so Old Murkai is a very, very good option. The problem with this level is that you need to take a tower to get to the enemy base. And that's difficult when you're running essentially minis that don't really do anything apart from kill a tower. It's very difficult to take and hold a tower in this type of situation, especially versus old Murkai, where there is just going to be threats everywhere. And like I said, even if we take the tower, like we do here, they can just turn and take it back, and you've got nothing to stop them doing so. So this makes gadgetzan the hardest map, practically impossible. I will show you a gadgetzan map where I did find a winning strategy, but frankly, for the most part, gadgetzan's basically impossible. And I'm just going to skip past that now and go to the next one. All right, now we are running into a Blood Mage Thanos. So on Alterac Valley, just going to send my ranged units over the top. We now have our combo, so we're going to run that straight away. Usually just like to see what the opponent has in this type of situation. So I'm running my my little dudes. He tries to use poison to stop them, so I'm going to cheat death. I'm going to land the first big hit. Don't really know what else he's got that will stop me, but I'm just going to kind of play very defensively in this situation versus that. We're going to go again. We're going to drop another smoke screen here. And there's the blizzard. Okay, stop. Pause. There's the blizzard. There's the answer. This is his answer to sappers, right? I've seen him run a 3 gold wolf. He's also got a 2 gold and a 2 gold Quillbore and Ghoul. So basically, I know he's running like a medium expensive deck. In this situation, what are we going to do? We're going to play Kobold. We're going to play Charlga. We're going to play whatever low-cost minis we have to get back to sappers real quick, stacking as many 1-costs back in our deck as possible, because we want to outcycle his blizzard. And this is what we're going to do here. Even if we're playing the 3 gold Defias Bandits, that's not a problem, because within seconds, we are back at our... version here. So we're going to use the cheat death. I'm actually going to use polymorph in this situation as well, just simply because it's going to help get those units through. That's one of the situations where I've used polymorph offensively. So again, when you see your counter, you just want to cycle. This is why I recommend Chain Lightning, by the way, as a genuine counter, because it's cheap. So you can have a cheap answer to sappers rather than polymorph or blizzard, which are quite expensive. Right, another Alterac Valley one for you here. This time we are going up against a Baron. So no massively cheap units in the deck, but we want to obviously try and contest chests. The thing about this deck is basically fake it until you make it. You need to be as competitive with eco in the first 15 seconds of the game as you can. If they end up countering your first push with Goblin Sappers, it can get a little awkward, but you just need to try and get eco within the first kind of 15 to 20 seconds. If you don't win in 30 seconds with this deck, you're probably not winning, because you just won't be able to contest eco in the long time. So I've seen here, I am just going to drop smoke screen to get past all of these guys. I'm hovering cheat death if I need it. Okay, when you see blizzard, do not use cheat death. It will not help you. I wasted cheat death in that situation, but I've just seen blizzard. I've just seen it get used, so I'm going to cycle all of my cheat minis. This is going to set me up better in the long run. But I am actually trying to go for some kind of defensive play here. Now, he is a Baron deck. He is running a cheap Baron deck, and that's okay. I don't need to use cheat death here, but I will do just in case. So I'm going to use it because they ran out of smoke screen just before they landed. But we are, again, going to try and cycle. Now, I know he'll probably have his Blizzard backup at this point. That's okay. I'm just going to try and go for another quick cycle if that's the case. So I'm just waiting. I use my smoke screen. He will have Blizzard available, so I'm not going to use my cheat death. We are now just going to cycle back out a load of really cheap minis. The benefit of this deck also is that your Charlgas can become quite solid threats. We are going to be cycling them and leveling them up really quickly. Now, we know in this situation, I'm going to use my Tide Hunter just to defend here, but he won't have his Blizzard back and up and available just yet. So we should be able to land this on the base. He does go for the polymorph here, which tells me he doesn't have Blizzard ready. We're going to cheat death off the back of his Quillbore. I'm going to land a couple of them, and we're going to win the game. Pog. Okay. Tyrium. Again, no game plan doesn't change for the majority of your opponents. I think old Murkai is a hard opponent because it doesn't really give you much room to breathe, whereas with this deck kind of likes the slower decks because you can just outpace them. Didn't have a great opening hand, but I am just going to spam all of my units just to cycle up to my sappers. I've just seen him drop pretty much everything. This is where Defias Bandits become really useful versus Goblin Sappers. You can see they stunned this Goblin Sapper here, and he didn't land. So this is where Goblin Sappers do become really useful. You're also going to see in this game where Polymorph becomes quite useful in this deck. Look at the size of the contingency he's throwing at me here. I'm going to use Polymorph just to kind of get away with it. And that was a really, really good defensive polymorph. We're going to drop another set of sappers. We're going to cheat death them just in case. Didn't really need to do that, but that's okay. And we're going to polymorph once again just to make sure that we can take out the majority of the threat of the competition here. Now, he's dropped his Defiance Bandits way too early. We are just going to stealth past them. We don't actually need to cheat death in this scenario. And then we're going to land and win the game. Perfect, easy. Let's move on to some more games. Okay, this was versus, I can't remember what this was versus. Oh, Baron. Okay, so again, we have the opening, we have the hand in our opener. He's got a Necromancer, which is very interesting. It's not a very meta unit at the moment, so I just cheat death to get past it to make sure that my sappers don't die. We very quickly cycle back to another set of sappers. This is where the Blizzard comes out. What did I tell you guys? When you see Blizzard, you are just cycling back to sappers as quickly as possible. Now, I have to build up a little bit of gold in this situation, but I wait. So, right, here we go. This is a really important thing, right? Oh, what have I just done? Wait. Right. We wait until all of these units are attacking this tower. Why? Because I don't want them to switch onto my aggro when I play my sappers. So I do that. I'm going to drop stealth on them. I have a 1 gold cheat death that I can work with here. We're going to cheat death to make sure they land. Easy. There we go. Another 20-second win or something stupid like that. Right, and just to show you that you can overcome adversity with this deck if you play the right strategy. This is Old Murkai, tough matchup, on Gadgetzan, basically the only impossible map. Okay, he is playing a kind of weird deck with Flame Elemental, but it's still an Old Murkai deck nonetheless, right? There is a reason also that I'm running Pick Lock on my Defiance Bandits. The reason I'm running Pick Lock is because obviously just those extra bit of eco, any little extra bit of eco that you can get is absolutely fantastic. Kind of losing this tower. I don't really mind about losing this tower. I was kind of trying to figure out my best possible game plan here. Losing 2 towers would be disastrous, but losing that tower is not the worst thing in the world, because what I'm going to do now is send my... I mean, I really effed up this, right? The fact that I even could come away with a win in this situation is absolutely ludicrous, because I really, really effed this one up. Nonetheless, I guess I kind of baited him. This is the most important thing, right? On this map, I think the best route to success is this way on this map. I think because you're less reliant on... This tower down here is easier to defend, in my opinion. And this tower going this way just feels very difficult to actually get the win. I think it's much easier to launch your sappers from here and just take this tower. So what I did is I've actually set up Charlga plus my Tide Hunters. They're going to support me once I take this tower, right? So watch this. My sappers go in. I've not used anything on my sappers here, and that's the most important thing that I can say here. I've not used anything on my sappers. What I've attempted to do is make sure I can just land my sappers without having to waste any more extra gold on things that I don't need to. Now, in this situation, as you can see, he has gone full attack on me, but that's okay. My Tide Hunters are going to clean things up, and I'm going to go for yet another push on this tower. This time, he doesn't have anything to defend it. I don't mind about taking some damage on my base, because I'm going to sneeze. 1 second. No, I'm not. Don't mind taking damage on my base, because I know that my base can handle it for the time being. Now, what would have been... And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. What would have worked significantly better for this guy is if he just attacked my base. But for some reason, he didn't. And so I got the opportunity to just spawn stuff from this dragon tower and attack his base. Quite honestly, if he had just attacked my base, I probably would have lost. Lost. Losed is not a word, Kinham. Yeah, I probably would have lost if he just attacked my base. But nonetheless, we're going to send another set of sappers in. He's going to Blizzard this time round. I randomly cheat death nothing. So we both made horrendous misplays this time round, this game. But yeah, ultimately, if the guy had just started spawning stuff at my base, I would have lost a long time ago. Kind of need to rely... I think you do need to rely on your opponents making mistakes in this game to actually kind of come away with a win on gadgetzan. But in this situation here, I'm just going to defend my base. We're going to go for a cheat death. Not even going to bother with the smoke bomb. I'm just going to go for a cheat death. We end up getting the win. I didn't deserve that win. The guy could have won way... If he just launched a full Old Murkai attack from the side tower, he probably would have. Well, maybe I would have been able to respond to it, but realistically, would have been his better chance of success. But if you want to win on gadgetzan with this deck, I feel like you have to do it down the right-hand lane, and you have to kind of get lucky. But ultimately, that's the one map out of the 5 that is difficult. So if it's like a 1 in 5 chance for you to have a map that's basically unwinnable, the rest of them are extremely winnable, and you can win very quickly. And it's quite fun. It's quite fun just blowing up bases in 2 hits. What's not to love about that? Right, there we go. Hope you enjoy this deck. Give it a try on ladder. It's extremely toxic. Have fun.